Tomorrow at noon Eastern, the 119th session of Congress begins. The first question before the newly elected Congress is going to be, will Mike Johnson be the Speaker of the House? Basically, if any two Republicans vote against him, he loses. Now, I understand math a little bit, but this seems like more than one.
He can only afford to lose one Republican vote. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie has already said he won't be backing Johnson.
Why are you not committed to Speaker Johnson as the next Speaker of the House?
Well, I'll tell you, I look at people's track record, and unfortunately, we will not be able to deliver on President Trump's agenda, as the same happened in 2016, because it has to be done legislatively if we don't have Speaker with the courage, vision, and a plan.
I remain undecided, as do a number of my colleagues, because we solved so many of the failures last year. Right now, I don't believe that he has the votes on Friday.
Remember that nothing can be done in the new Congress until a speaker is chosen. It cannot swear in new members. It cannot form committees. It cannot pass legislation. It cannot certify Donald Trump's election victory. Electing a Speaker of the House on day one is supposed to be a formality. It's not supposed to be hard. So this fight over the speaker's gavel doesn't bode well for the ability of this incoming Congress to actually govern. Joining us now is the Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us again. This begs a question for Democrats who tend to be pretty disciplined about this stuff. Certainly the last time around, every time Kevin McCarthy was trying to get an election, everybody voted for Hakeem Jeffries on the Democratic side. Obviously, that's going to happen as well tomorrow. But at what point do Democrats feel any responsibility or compulsion to get involved and say, all right, at some point, the work of the people has to get done, and you all aren't doing it?
In my opinion, that point will not be reached. Listen, they have gone around, they have talked about how there is a mandate and that this country issued a mandate for the Republicans to run something. Well, the country about to find out. We are in the find out phase. So go ahead and run whatever y'all gonna run. But listen, if it's all about y'all, if you don't believe in bipartisanship and you have a Trump trifecta, then y'all work this out amongst yourselves. We're gonna sit on the sidelines and eat our popcorn.
And as you're eating that popcorn, because tomorrow could be a long day, maybe they'll get it worked out soon, maybe they won't. What does that look like to you? What does success look like to you? Because there is the business of governing that has to get done. They got to get a speaker so that they can get various things done, including January 6th, the certification of the election of the president, the vice president. What are you looking to see happen tomorrow? What are you most interested in?
Honestly, I'm not that concerned about January 6th. I know you just threw that in there, but my candidate didn't win. So, if it gets delayed, I'm okay with that. But what I am interested in seeing is how savvy his right flank will be if they actually will go ahead and extract blood the same way that they extracted out of McCarthy, right? That's how we got back to putting Chip Roy on rules along with a few other people that have blown things up and made it very difficult for any speaker to actually conduct their business. They've had to take up things such as these continuing resolutions on suspension instead of actually taking them through rules because they couldn't get the rules passed. In addition to that, I'm curious to see if they get him back down to that one speaker vote, right, to vacate the speaker. Right now in the proposed rules, it's going to take a lot of people, and they have to come from the Republican side, which is very interesting. We have never seen that. Not that the Democrats have ever moved to vacate the speaker anyway. He's always been, or their speaker has always been vacated by someone on their side. But I think that they are going to extract a little bit of blood out of Mike Johnson if he is going to become speaker again. But they really don't have anybody else. So this is really a matter of who can hold out the longest. But considering the fact that Trump went crawling to Chip Roy today in a phone call, I just think that it's funny because, MAGA believes that Trump is this big, mean guy and he's the strong man. But here it is. He has threatened Chip Roy not once, not twice, but he's threatened him a number of times. And Chip Roy always stands up to him. Yeah. And now it's Trump that's calling Chip Roy begging for a vote.
Yeah, it's interesting because Chip Roy, Trump's already used the "I'll primary you" thing on Chip Roy. Chip Roy tends to beat everybody who runs against him. He made the point the other day that if Trump goes against him and he loses 30 points, still wins the primary and still wins the election. So it is interesting to see how that all goes down. There are a couple things coming up. The continuing resolution that does have to be dealt with. That's March. That's about 96 news cycles away. There is the issue of the debt ceiling, which Donald Trump has flip-flopped on in the past, but now he wants something done with it. What are the priorities as Democrats that you're looking at? What are the things that you'd like to see done in this Congress that your participation can help get done?
So I absolutely want to make sure that this is done in a bipartisan way. I don't think that Mike Johnson will ever be able to guarantee his entire caucus. He wasn't able to do it when he had a larger majority. And so what does bipartisanship look like? It looks like making sure that the priorities that the Democrats have, which are really the priorities of everyday working folk, making sure that we've got, obviously there was the fight about the funding for child cancer research, making sure that we're protecting Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, making sure that we're doing the smart things that will take care of Americans is what we want to do. What we're not looking forward to is them trying to ram through the Trump tax scam again. Those tax cuts, they expire in 2025. And so that's why he wanted to make sure that debt ceiling was raised. And so this is where we will be able to use our leverage, knowing that they only have a 2-seat majority when it comes down to it, which means that they will only be allowed to lose one vote on anything that they want to pass through the House.
Are there circumstances you can see in which Mike Johnson reaches over to Hakeem Jeffries and says there are things that have to get done? We did see that a little bit in the last House. You don't see much of that going on this time?
I mean, he may reach, but let me tell you, he gonna feel these reaches, because when he allowed Elon Musk and Vivek to jump onto social media and blow up what had been, days and months long negotiations between Democrats and Republicans, and you allow a tweet to blow it all up. Well, first of all, the only currency that we have when we are lawmakers, whether it's the state or federal level, is our word. And so if you will not honor your word because somebody randomly who's not elected sends out a tweet, that's no way to govern, and we can't trust you. It was the same issue that McCarthy had. Democrats couldn't trust him, nor could his own party trust him, and so therefore he got kicked out. I think Mike Johnson is in a real big pickle. I think if he had actually just went ahead, pushed forward with the CR as it had been negotiated, then he would be in a position to say, hey, Hakeem, if I got a problem, can you help me out? But he's not in that position right now.